passing that one test. And
The shorthand test.
And so finally, I got a chance because I was an outsider, you know, I wasn't an employee. And they had first opened it up to all their employees that wanted to take the effort to get it, and nobody could pass it.
Internally?
Yeah, internally.
Oh.
And it could have been a carrier, it could have been a postal clerk.
That's why I was kind of curious about Sunvan and why they didn't hire me to be a scheduler. Because I was already hired. Charlie, quiet.
It might have been the people that had inside flight.
I don't think they hired anybody.
Charlie. Charlie, hush. She takes guarding me very seriously.
Evidently. Anyway, I was surprised that they didn't. And I told them, I said, well, if you don't want to hire me for this, I'm going to resign. And it wasn't like I was giving them an ultimatum.
Charlie, go get in bed.
Charlie. It wasn't like I was giving them an ultimatum or digging my heels in.
No, I know. Well, the same thing happened to me with this. First, I got on. I actually applied, which is the first step.
Right.
It took me 3 years to get to my name because
Wow.
the register, that postal service. Go get in bed. You gonna go? Are you gonna keep on barking? Quiet.
Turkey dog.
Be quiet now. Okay.
How funny.
Good girl. Quiet.
Yeah, she's a good girl.
Until I turn around.
So 3 years. I know. So typical.
Yeah, and so all this time I'm working, you know, in other places, and I'm waiting. But those registers were thousands of people on it because they were very good. They were a very good employer.
Thousands.
They paid very well. You know, they paid twice as a starting payment what you would get in the workplace.
In the general.
3 years.
Now, is this the post office?
Yeah.
Okay.
U.S. Postal Service.
Okay, so like let's say what was starting pay? Do you remember?
Well, I know when I was working at the DA's office, I think I was earning about $1,000 a month.
Oh.
And so, and that was 40 hours a week. And so, when I went to the Postal Service, the starting pay was like twice as that or more.
Oh.
Whatever that was by hour. And I was so surprised. See, it was Paul who told me. He says, you just stay with them. Keep it up. I said, but it's so discouraging because, you know, I'm not even anywhere near. The Postal Service gave first priority to the veterans. The disabled veterans got 10 extra points right off the bat. A regular veteran got 5 points right off the bat, and they were put at the top of the list, which I agree with. And so everybody else, including me, was slotted in according to the score that they had earned. So it takes a long time to get you your name. But finally they called me in and they said, okay, we've reached your name and we're ready to take some more assessments. And so I went, and by this time all the people that were were already employees had tried for this job and couldn't get it. And it was
because of the shorthand?
Because of the shorthand, which I never even used.
And that was a requirement?
That was a requirement because this is how they weeded out people who, like you're saying, they're looking for resourcefulness, for people that had taken courses that maybe they didn't need, but that might be useful something. And that's what I did. I had an extra course slot in my high school, and I said, I'm going to take shorthand. Because I already had taken typing, and this seemed like
I like typing.
Yeah.
And that has really come in handy.
Yeah, and so did shorthand, man.
I really liked it a lot, actually.
So, and it was one semester, and I got an A, and I liked it very much. And I hadn't ever really used it since high school. So, so they said, hey, we're going to give you some tests. And so I said, okay. And so when they came down to the shorthand test, they said, so we're going to, dictate to you, you write it down, and then And then we're going to read back parts of it, and you fill in the parts that, you know, that we left unread. But you can I sit there? I'm going to
Sure.
wash these.
Oh, yeah.
I mean,
Turkey.
so there I am, you know, I'm taking it down, and I already knew enough because I was never like you know, that was never my strong point.
You mean shorthand?
Uh-huh. I was
Really?
good at it, but I only taken one semester of it. I only wanted to get the basics, and so I hadn't gone on and done, you know. So I was doing fairly well for the little bit that I had done. And I used it in my college days because you're taking notes in class, and it was so nice to be able to take really good notes.
Oh.
So I had used it like that, and that served as a practice.
I mean, right there, that I would want it for that.
Yeah.
You know.
Or say you're somewhere else, and you need to take information down, and you could.
Like if I want to take notes on Doug Batchelor, you know.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So I had done that, and so I knew already how to take fast notes. It wasn't 100% shorthand.
Yeah.
Because you know, I didn't know, I hadn't taken that much time to learn it. I just took a semester, but I had the basics, and I could sort of modify the basics to fit what I didn't have, and that was enough. And it was just barely enough. I was struggling. You know, I was doing this, and what I did was like all the stuff, like the basic words like of, from, dear, you know, things like that. I knew, and those were simple. But if they said Tallahassee, you know, or something like that, I'd have to write most of the word out. But then I'd catch up, you know, my ears were listening so that I could remember.
So those kind of words, more complicated words, you had to spell out.
I had to spell out because I hadn't learned. There's a way to do it. I had only gone through the basics.
Oh.
The
So there's advanced shorthand.
Yeah.
See, for years I've been wanting to learn for years.
Yeah. I say it was worth it. I used it in
Wow-wee.
so many ways. But anyways, there I was, you know, doing my best and holding my breath and trying to look like I knew what I was doing. And I
Right.
did for the little bit that I knew. And I put it to work, and then they read back to me the dictation, and they would stop, and I would fill in the words, and then so we got through that, and then they said I passed, and so I said, oh, good, you know, but I wasn't called in for anything. It took like
You did get the results of the
I
test.
got the results, but again, it moves very slowly,
Oh.
and so it took. I don't know anymore, but it took like at least a few months before they called me back, and they said, oh, okay, we have an opening in this office, and would you like to interview for that? And I said, sure. So I interviewed, and I was not hired.
Oh.
So I said, oh, well.
Well, how did the interview go? How would you say it went?
I thought it went well, but you know what I think too? There's just politics everywhere.
Oh, brother.
And so I think that maybe there's little, you know, games going on, and not so bad, but you know, people want their favorites or whatever.
Oh.
So I said, okay. Well, the second one I was called in later, and that also went kaput.
Well, how much later was it?
A few months, and you know, by this time I'm going to call. Why don't they go out and hire me?
Right.
And
Well, but your interaction with them, and I mean, you felt comfortable and that you'd done a reasonably good.
Yeah, and so then the third time, and I think the last time, they called me in. I think it was 3 times you got to do this. So this was my last chance, and I went in and I sat for the human resources, and so it was a man named Wes, and so he asked me questions, and he you know, said scenarios and what would I do in this and that, and so apparently I answered him all right because he hired me.
Wow.
And he was the one that in fact wanted me to follow him to San Francisco.
Oh yes, I remember.
He said,
Yeah.
He said that I was loyal, and that because a lot of times, you know, in departments, employees want to badmouth the manager.
You know, that's true. But I guess it must have been a super issue because he said you were loyal. So his experiences.
I guess he overheard me because whenever,
Oh.
you know, the women in the office would start to badmouth him, you know, I would say something. And I know it irritates you, but it still makes
It kind of no. I get it. It really fell in perfect. That
But
was.
see, I didn't know he was around. I mean, sometimes he was there, sometimes he wasn't, and
Yeah, but you're very consistent with that. So if he was sometimes there.
he was a good man. He
Yeah,
was a fine
yeah,
person.
yeah,
He
yeah.
wasn't coming on to us.
Oh.
He wasn't. He was a hard worker, and he was black, and all the rest. No, there was one other black man in the office, but most of us were Mexican or white, and I don't know. It just bugged me, you know, when people out of nothing
Yeah.
create hostility.
Yeah.
And then I would come in on Saturdays on my own, you know, to do stuff that I
And you would get paid for it, right? No.
And I offered. I said, if you could come, because see, I'd have to come when he was there. So he would come into the office and open it up, and I would work, and I'd be filing or whatever. And then I asked him, and I asked my direct supervisor, you know, that was a lady under him. I said, this needs to have some organization. We just don't have time during the week. If I could come in on a weekend and say have like 3 people, and I could just kind of change some of the things that are, you know, so we could catch up, so we wouldn't constantly be in a crisis mode.
Well, if you came in on your own time, obviously you could be fully dedicated to that. How many hours did you spend on a Saturday when you would go in?
Probably 4, something like that,
4?
because whatever he could spend, you know, I have to leave one with him, so.
But he was getting paid.
No, I don't think so. I don't think so. Maybe, I don't think.
He's on salary,
yeah,
right?
he's on salary, that kind of payment, but I was hourly, and so I know.
And you couldn't clock in.
No.
And they let you work for free.
Well, because nobody really knew. I
Yeah.
was in West.
Oh,
We'd open stuff up and open up the file cabinets. I had the keys to some things, but I didn't have it to the doors and stuff. So.
Sure. Well, he must have really appreciated that.
And then another time, we were so overwhelmed that we were just like going from one emergency to another, and people's nerves were taut.
Oh.
Where you're just afraid. And
Edgy.
you're ready to snap at the next bird song. You know?
Anything.
And so one of the men I worked for, Wes was the top, and then there were other people underneath him, and I worked also as their secretaries when I had time, which I always did because I was always caught up in my work.
You were?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was, because, you know, that I have this mind that won't let me rest unless everything is the way it should be. So I took stuff out on my lunch hour to my car.
Oh, you did?
Because if I stayed in the office, somebody would walk in, the phone would ring.
My goodness.
I couldn't get to it. And so I would go and take.
So you would work during your lunch?
I worked during my lunch, and I would be drafting letters, and then when I got back to the office, I would type them real fast because I had done the hard part. And so I was, he was, what do you call it when he was like the grievance guy, you know, where somebody wants to grieve something.
Yeah.
And the union rep would go see this man, and they would, you know, talk and fight and argue and everything, and then I'd type up the results.
Oh,
stuff
interesting.
like that.
Was there a lot of internal strife? Really?
Yeah, that's where the
That
term
much?
postal came in.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You went postal.
That's true.
There were deaths. I mean,
What?
people killed for their.
So it was that much animosity?
That's why I never wanted to go into higher management, because I didn't want that. You could cut it with a knife when you went into those big facilities. You walk onto the workroom floor, and you think you're innocuous enough, and you're just gonna, you know, watch and everything, and you see the carriers and the clerks, you know,
Oh my God.
they're making all kinds of head movements and.
Oh, like
And
here,
you
here,
can
this
feel
person.
it.
Who's this person?
Yeah, and you can feel it, and they're watching. Are they management? Are they chummy with management? Then automatically we hate them. Or are they chummy with us? Then automatically, that's a part of us.
They're tolerable. How amazing! It was that hostile.
Yeah, and I remember going into Santa Fe. That's a big facility.
Yeah.
And I was there to audit, and so in between times, I was again the kind of person who tried to help.
That's
If I
amazing.
didn't have something to do, I went around and picked up trash. Okay, I helped I helped maintenance, or and I was laughed at by some people.
You were?
They said making brownie points or something.
Oh, is that how they figured it?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's
Or
dirty.
I was outside the facility with a trash bag picking up trash.
Okay, you could see how they would think that,
Yeah,
Mrs.
I know,
Goody
I know.
Two Shoes.
Yep, and some of them told me, they told me, you're not fooling anybody, and they, like one time I was part of a group that was being taught something, and I was one of the people who was learning, and we were graded on our presentation.
Right.
And I know I gave it. I do this all the time at church.
Oh.
I'm always being called. All of us in church are called to say a prayer, or give a talk, or bear a testimony. We are used to being in front of people and utilizing our imaginations. And so I know I didn't do too well when you were there, but I usually do a lot better. Anyway, I gave this presentation and he gave me a D minus. This clerk, because he knew I was a postmaster, and so he just
D minus?
didn't like me. Yeah, and all the other ones.
Why was he given authority to grade you?
Oh, it was, again, I think it was like one of those plans that they have where they're going to try to assimilate, make people feel more like part of the group.
But a
It
D
never
minus,
was
I mean,
like
did.
that. It was never like that. It was always, like, when they got to know me, because I was also a trainer later in some things, and I went to these offices, and I would go inside the room where I was going to be training people.
Right.
And I would say, good morning, and like this one carrier.
He did what?
He
Just like.
he did not say good morning. He gave me a dirty look, and he said, it was like if he was saying, you're not fooling me, forget it. And that stayed for a while until they got to know me.
Yeah.
And then once they got to know me, I became part of the group.
They figured out that you weren't doing it to, get brownie points.
No. And I remember there was one guy that was really, I guess he really had some issues with the managers, and he was after me, he was constantly trying to make me look dumb. Because, I don't know everything. I've never been a carrier. I've been a clerk, I've been a trainer, I've been an auditor, a secretary, but I haven't done a lot of things that they have. And so, anyways, he came over, sauntered over to where I was, and he was saying something or other. And he was setting me up, and the man next to me, who was Kraft, like a regular person, he said, leave her alone. And that changed, changed the attitude. And at the end of that time, which was several months, at the end of it, they told me such nice things. One of them said, this one young man said, maybe you've never been a carrier, and maybe you don't know, some things, but you were instrumental in our group in keeping us, together.
Cohesive.
And we helped to learn, and we're grateful you were here.
Oh,
wow. And so I try always to help people, and I know it's going to be misunderstood sometimes.
Yeah.
But if they know me, like even in the post office where I was working, until they got to know me, and that would take at least a year. the people would look at me with
Suspicion.
suspicion and resentment that somebody in the town didn't get the
Oh
job.
yeah, yeah,
Things
yeah,
like that. That's just for everybody, not just me and not just the postal. You're the new guy on the job. You got to sort of prove yourself. You got to sort of, show that, like, one time, and I'm pretty sure I was being given a test.
Hmm.
But I couldn't prove it. I just had this feeling.
Okay.
Anyways, I was cleaning my office in the morning, waiting for the mail truck to come in. So I was like dusting the countertops and things like that. And I came across a wallet. And I
Oh.
said, somebody left their wallet, and I was trying to think, who put it in? I was trying to come in. But
Teddy.
I thought I knew who it was.
Yeah.
But when I looked in the wallet so I could know who to call, it wasn't that person.
Oh.
So I called the person whose name was in the wallet, and I said, "Hi, this is the postmaster, and I have your wallet here. You must have left it here." He says, "I was just on my knees praying that somebody would tell me that." And I says, "Well, come on over." He says, "Wait, can you tell me what's in it? There should be this and this and this." And I said, "Yeah, that's what's in it." There was $100 bill and a $1 bill. I remember because I thought that was so odd to have one that's so little and
One so extreme. Well, hon, you thought it might have been a test, but him saying that he was on his knees praying about it, that kind of gives me, doesn't that give you the impression that
Well, it can be both.
it can be both?
Because the
Well, I mean, it would be a
one
test.
person I had seen that morning was not this person.
Oh.
I'm thinking real hard.
Then how did it get there?
I'm thinking that one person planted it.
Do they know each other?
Oh yeah.
Are these people in the community?
Yeah.
And
Everybody knows
and they
each
do
other.
know each other.
And they know each other. So I'm thinking, unbeknownst to the poor man who was the victim, that if I had kept the $100 bill,
Well, yeah.
my name would have been mud,
Yeah.
and I would have been, I would have been
They
made
would
to leave.
they would have come after you.
Yeah, but but I would never do that because I know
It's not who
better.
you are.
So I guess nobody. And the man said, and you don't know who left it, and I deliberately said I couldn't remember because I didn't know.
Well, couldn't you have said I saw only one person?
No, because then I was afraid he would go to that person and there would be trouble.
Oh.
And I just wanted to
But-
kind of put it behind me.
But how would he have had access to that man's wallet unless they were not in cahoots?
No, they didn't have to be. See, the man who was the victim owned the mercantile, and so people are in and out there, and maybe this person happened to find it, maybe on a counter or bathroom, or maybe he even lifted it out of his pocket. I don't know.
Right.
All I know is that it didn't fit,
Wow.
and I didn't want to complicate muddy the water, so I've been thinking about it, and I'm not sure. I can't tell you.
Well, then that was an honest answer, obviously. So it all blew over?
That and a lot of other times.
Did they tested you with other things too?
Not like that.